Hey guys, Chris here, and I'm a Ukrainian Canadian. Today is June 26th, 2022. I initially wasn't planning to make a video today because I wanted to take a day off, but unfortunately, pretty bad news happened today in the morning in Ukraine, so I wanted to make a video because I'm quite emotional about this. Very frustrated. So this is the big news of the day. Kyiv was shelled overnight by Russia, and especially most of them were residential targets. So residential districts were targeted. It's only Kyiv. There's also, I believe, Chernihiv and some other cities in close to Kyiv as well that were unfortunately shelled through cruise missiles, because usually when they hit all these different cities across Ukraine, they use very long-range cruise missiles. So again, as I've said, Russia does this once in a while to keep reminding Ukrainians that they can still hit different cities across the entire country. And it's disgusting. This is the face of Russian liberation, as you see here. A complete, brand new condo building destroyed by the cruise missile, and a lot of people have lost their lives as well. I believe there was also kindergarten that was hit. It's disgusting. I don't know what the West requires more to understand that Russia needs to be wiped. And I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about the army and the current government. Anyways, let's go to the next news. There was a Sky news reports mentioning that 80% of troops killed or injured in elite Ukraine military unit. I think this might be misrepresented in the news, because I've already been reading that 80% of the Ukrainian elite forces have been wiped out everywhere. This was just from this video where one reporter went into a military unit. A military unit is a few people. I mean, I'm not really sure exactly because that depends, but less than probably 50 people, maybe 100. I'm not 100% sure, but it's not the entire army that has been wiped out, 80% of its best soldiers. However, because they're on the front lines fighting in Severodonetsk-Lysychansk, this is the reality. We can't be putting our rose glasses and thinking that, oh, the Ukrainian army is winning it all and we're like, cyborgs and we're not dying. We are also dying because Russia has an overwhelming advantage in artillery. They have about 2,000 artillery systems versus 200 to 300 of ours at this point. Maybe a little bit more that we have. I'm not 100% sure, but again, they have an overwhelming advantage in artillery, and they can just bomb everything around that area. They can hit everything they want. And that's the reality of things, is that these are the losses that we're taking. And exactly why I'm frustrated. What is the West waiting to push more weapons to us? They have it, and they can do much better. And I'm talking mostly about the old European countries, such as, unfortunately, Germany, France, Italy, the countries that have had the most destruction during World War II during that period. And now they're sort of playing a two-phase game, as in they come and they show support to Zelensky and the Ukrainian people. They say everything right. But when it comes down to actually doing things, acting, they're not acting appropriately or accordingly to what they say, right? If you're really in support of Ukraine, you wouldn't be sending just, 6 or now I think it's 12 Caesar systems, only that. You can send us weapons, helmets, medical aid, a lot more. And I know France has been helping. I'm not saying they're not, but I think every country in Europe can do much better. The ones that are really helping a lot, Poland, Baltics, Moldova, Romania, they understand what is at hand, what is at stake there, because they're right beside Ukraine. Slovakia, they understand what is happening. And so they know exactly if Ukraine fails, they're next. Putin mentioned in his crooks that they're not going to stop with Ukraine. Perhaps it's not going to be instant, but they will be pushing further. And I believe that can be very much so a reality. So I think the old European countries need to get their act up, because the situation is dire, and that's not only going to affect Ukraine, it's going to affect the entire world, including Europe. So there it is. So now, the other news, exactly why I'm frustrated. Lithuania plans to veto the decision of the European Commission to unblock transit to Kaliningrad. Are you serious? So the European Commission is mentioning that they're planning to unblock the transit to Kaliningrad that Lithuania decided to do. So the European Commission gets to decide what Lithuania wants to do with its geopolitical decisions, essentially, because the European Commission is scared. They need Russia, right? They act like they need them, but Europe can get all their resources that they take from Russia elsewhere. They just need to figure it out. They can do it. There's so many alternatives. There's Venezuela. There's, even though it's not the greatest country in terms of its democracy and freedom, there is Kuwait, there's Dubai. There are many Arab countries that can supply the resources. They just need to readjust. And yes, it takes time. It's not easy, but that is the path you need to take. Don't you see what is happening in Ukraine? So this is what is very frustrating, that Europe still plays this little two-phase game. Some countries, I'm not saying all of them, but some countries play dumb, as in, let's unblock this decision because it's not really helping us out, economically speaking, right? And last news before we go to the map, here we go. So partisans in the Pskov region in Russia, a freight train with ammunition derailed. The place of the accident was cordoned off by the military. And railroad workers are not allowed to clear rubble. That is fishy. That means that this is probably a partisan movement. I'm not sure if it's Ukrainian or like Russian people actually doing all this, but I think some people are starting to figure it out in Russia. And there's a lot of great people in Russia that are against this regime. They understand the situation, and this is exactly what needs to be happening in Russia. Exactly this. A lot more partisan movements. If you can go protest, do these things. Right? Stop if you know exactly that this is ammunition railroad, not transporting people. Hit them. If you know there is a Voinkomat, the military recruitment centers, hit them too, right? We've been seeing these videos of people hitting them at night with Molotov cocktails. This is what needs to be happening in Russia right now. And there's random fires too right across the country. I can bet you that some of these are not just accidental. And this is why I say that there's a lot of great Russian people. And I'm not saying that we need to destroy Russian people or we need to annihilate them. I'm talking about the army itself, the command structure that exists within the army, which is cancerous, and the current government of Putin, which for 22 years reigned free and brought cancer to the Russian people, straight up cancer, a virus that is eating their rationality, because they understand the truth. They believe that what Russia's doing is great and they're helping Ukrainian people and they're denazifying, and they can't hear the truth. They can't see it because they refuse to do so. And that is all thanks to Russia's government and also their army structure, their judiciary structure. It's all part of the same system, and their police structure. Everything is corrupt. Everything is ruled by poor people, bad people. And unfortunately, that leads to what we see now, a Russia that is cancerous. And a lot of the great Russian people have either left Russia to go to the United States, Europe, wherever, or they just can't leave because they don't have the money and the resources to do so. So they have to sit quietly. And that is the situation. So Europe needs to get their act together and ensure the destruction of the Russian army. And that is only by sending more weapons, the weapons that Ukraine requires. And all we're going to do is do the work for them. How genius is that? You need to put zero work, just give us the resources. So last thing is the map in Severodonetsk and Lysychansk. So this is for today, June 26th. There's a lot of reports that, as I've been mentioning, actually, I believe it was either yesterday or 2 days ago, that the Russians will be pushing through this road, and they are, through the road of Bilahora. Remember, a couple of days ago or yesterday, if I can get this thing to work. Oh yeah, there it is. They were here. And now, Bilahora. So they're pushing through this main road. They want to get into Lysychansk through here, through this road here. So things are looking quite dire on this front. I think the Ukrainian army is considering perhaps doing a retreat. I'm not certain how soon, but it's very, very possible. And this is not a defeat of the Ukrainian army, as many want to point it. It's a tactical retreat. Let's remember that Severodonetsk and Lysychansk are not like Kyiv or Kharkiv, right? They're important cities, but they're middle-sized. Severodonetsk had about 70,000 people. maybe Lysychansk had the same amount, or combined, these two cities were about 100K. So in terms of, cities, they're not, strategically that important, but they're important for Ukrainians because they're our land. This is our cities. Just Russia created itself a mythical sort of victorious, award that if we get this, or the one is won. Like you take two cities during 2 months of fighting is a huge victory. To me, it's pretty pathetic considering the amount of weapons that Russia has, and they're still aren't able to take the entirety of these two cities. So there's no victory for Russia in here either. So that's the situation. As I said, Ukrainians might potentially move out of Lysychansk, perhaps retreat to Kramatorsk or Bakhmut and give up all this land to Russians. This is very likely. I hope that's not the case, and hopefully the HIMARS systems are going to do some great work, but it might be too late. The United States, the other countries acted too late. They should have brought that to us a month ago. We might have had done some damage over all this front, but right now, maybe it's going to do something, but we need more HIMARS systems too. So let's hope that things go Ukraine's way, but it's getting more and more frustrating. The global theme today for me is frustration, that Europe still isn't doing exactly what it should be doing. The entire continent, all the countries are not pitching in. This is affecting all of us guys too. This is not just something that's happening in Ukraine and that's it. Do you think the gas prices are not related to what's happening right now? Do you think that the food you're paying, that's like 50% more expensive, even though they tell you it's like 10%, but in reality, sometimes it doubles your food bill, it's not related to this war? You think that the economical issues that are ongoing right now is not because of this war? It's all because of this war. And Russia started it. And so this is why we need to stop them, destroy the government, destroy the army. And only then we can make sure that we are developing a strong, powerful, democratic Russia that won't let something like that happen again, where the people are going to stand behind human values, behind saving lives and avoiding conflict at all costs. This is the only way we can do that. Because if you just let Putin live, his government pass on, it's going to be the same situation. So unfortunately, this is what I'm trying to portray as a message today. So hopefully you enjoyed my video. Please like it if you liked it. Write comments if you disagree with whatever I say. Again, it's only my opinion. And subscribe if you want to hear and see more content. Thank you guys again, and I'll see you in the next video.